The genius who exposed Konoha's dark secret. Please subscribe. Episode 20. Uchiha Ruri. Hayashi-sama. On the morning of Monday, it was just dawn, about 6 o'clock, when Ain came over on time to wake Hayashi. A faint sound came from the room, and after a while, Hayashi came out of the room. He didn't look at Ain, and walked right past her. For him, whether this maid could live to the end is an unknown question. For the clan, the lives of those of the branch family are not that important. Only a few of those will resist, and most of them are used to being ruled. And this habit will be firmly engraved in their bones and soul, and passed down from generation to generation. They were happy with the joy of the clan, angry with the anger of the clan, and sad with the sadness of the clan. As for Hayashi's indifference, Ain naturally understood that she was just following the duty of a maid and honestly following behind Hayashi. Around, there must be many eyes watching her. She could feel it. In the dark corner, in the silent crevice, all her actions were monitored. Hayashi. After passing through several houses, Ain followed Hayashi all the time. When she was about to reach the practice ground, a young boy who was slightly younger than Hayashi came to the end of the corridor. His appearance is also very similar to Hayashi. After seeing Hayashi, he lowered his head. No matter how he heard it, he felt like he was gnashing his teeth, and his fists were clenched tightly. Hizashi, as a ninja, you have to restrain your emotions at any time. It's really bad have such expression. You must have forgotten what your duty as a branch member. Hayashi stopped, gave Hizashi a cold look, and scolded Hizashi in a stern tone as his elder brother. Yes. He seemed to have regained his composure and his fists loosened, but Ain knew his anger, hatred, and dissatisfaction. Just like Hayashi, Hizashi is the son of the current Hyuga clan head. The difference is that he was born a little later than Hayashi, so he became a member of the branch family, and Hayashi became the clan heir. He was going to die for Hayashi, all his honors and disgrace, no longer for himself, but for the elder brother, whom he once respected and loved most. The respect and love in the past are now only enmity and hatred. If it wasn't for him being the son of the clan head, if he had so blatantly revealed his murderous intentions to the next Hyuga head, he would probably have been cursed to death. When they came to the training ground, there was enjoyment from the Hyuga clan, waiting for Hayashi to go to practice in the morning. Because she was a maid, Ain was granted permission to stay here. After she was arranged as the maid of the Hayashi, her status was a little higher than that of the general branch members. The 8 trigrams palms 64 palms of the Hyuga clan trained by the Hayashi, combined with the Byakugan, was extremely powerful. Ain didn't learn anything about the 64 palms, she only learned of the 32 palms. On the one hand, the people of the clan both hope that the people from the branch family are strong, but do not want them to learn all the secret skills of the Hyuga clan. Because once there is a branch family who surpasses the main family in absolute learning, it will be very embarrassing for the members of the main family. And if the people of the main family were to be embarrassed, the members of the branch family will definitely be punished. If the branch family behaves well, they will be allowed to learn this jutsu. However, there is an absolute defensive move called 8 trigrams palms revolving heaven, which only members of the main clan were qualified to learn. As a maid of Hayashi, there is actually not much to do, because Ain has to go to the academy during the day, so several times, she wouldn't be with Hayashi all the time. She don't particularly care about this sort of thing. She's just a branch member who has no idea when she would die, and she never asked or cared about it. Like the dead maids of the branch before, she was just a dispensable tool beside him. That's how he was taught by his father, who was the head. The main family is the root of the Hyuga clan. As long as the root is still there, it doesn't matter whether the branches and leaves are withering or blooming. Konoha Year 32, October. Shiraishi also stayed in the first medical experimental class for half a year, and his grades were not high. After graduating from the 6th grade, he would rush to the battlefield and work as a medical ninja on the front line. Just when Shiraishi thought so, suddenly a message came back. The war is over. Yes, the war is over. Konoha wins, Amigakure loses. The leader of AIM, Hanzo the Salamander, recognized the victory of Konoha after he gave 3 Konoha ninja Sannin, and since then ended the war between Amigakure and Konohagakure. And the so-called Konoha Sannin were Orochimaru, Jiraiya, Tsunade. The 3 of them are the disciples of the 3rd Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen. The 3 of them won the victory for Konoha on the battlefield of the Land of Rain, and they were honored. As a result, most people in the village were immersed in an atmosphere of joy. Shiraishi was also very happy. After graduation, he could finally participate in the Ninja World War without going to the battlefield. The Sannin returned with a large number of Konoha ninjas, and countless people were looking forward to it at the entrance of the village. Shiraishi is also a mon. At that time, he saw the so-called Konoha Sannin. A feminine and handsome man with long black straight hair, full of murderous aura. A big-breasted ninja with pale blonde hair and a big smile. Wait, why are there only 2 Sannin? He recalled that it was Konoha Sannin. Why did only 2 people come back? There's one more person? Could it be that at the moment when the war ended, he died by accident? Shiraishi couldn't help but guess in his heart. But at this time, people didn't pay attention to why there were only 2 of Sannin who came back. What they cared about was the joy and ease after the war. Although there will be a funeral later. Great joy and great sorrow. This is the trivial matter after the war. Konoha Mausoleum. Shiraishi wore black clothes. The atmosphere of the funeral was very bleak, but today the weather was fine and the sky was clear. Not all funeral days will be rainy or cloudy. Wearing black clothes and long black hair, Ruri stood in front of the tomb engraved with the names of the Uchiha clan, and placed the white chrysanthemums in her hands in front of the monuments of the deceased. In this war, according to Ruri, the Uchiha clan sacrificed a total of 3 joinin, 11 chunin, 9 genin, and more than 10 people were seriously injured and disabled, and could not survive as ninjas. It's ended. Shiraishi came over and said softly to Ruri. There was not much sadness on Ruri's face, she was used to parting with her family. Every year, the corpses of clansmen were Hyuga, brought back from the front line. She also saw the downfall and collapse of the disabled Uchihas. Ruri put the last bunch of white chrysanthemums away and whispered, how can it end? There was no reason for war, but there must be a purpose and benefits. As long as there are humans, the war will never end. Shiraishi was slightly startled and wanted to say something. Don't worry, I'm not weak enough to need comfort. Born in battle and dying in battle, this is the destiny of the Uchiha. Episode 21. Avoid distractions. The war is over. The Hokage building stood in the shadow of the rocky cliffs. The third Hokage, Sarutobi, along with his advisors Koharu Udatane, Hamura Mitokado, and the leader of the route, Shimura Danzo, gathered here. Turning away from the conference table, Koharu gazed out the window at the beautiful sunset and sighed, a relaxed expression on her face. It was evident that she was in a good mood. After a brief silence in the conference room, another advisor, Hamura, spoke up. Although the war has ended, there are still urgent issues that need to be resolved. Additionally, Jiraiya has not returned yet. At this critical moment for Konoha, when everything is waiting to be concluded, as a jonin of the village, he should not act according to his own will. Mutterings of dissatisfaction towards Jiraiya could be heard from Koharu. After the war in the Land of Rain, Orochimaru, Jiraiya, and Tsunade were bestowed the title of Sannin by Hanzo, the leader of Amigakure, as an honorary recognition in the shinobi world. However, only Orochimaru and Tsunade returned. Jiraiya was currently staying in the Amigakure, as he had taken in 3 orphans from there. Koharu turned her head and continued, indeed, Hiruzen, as a Konoha jonin, he disregarded orders, took in orphans from Amigakure, and has been absent from the village for a considerable period. This seriously violates the village's rules. Allowing such ninjas to roam freely would undermine the credibility of the village's rules. However, at present, Konoha had not sent any ninja to dissuade Jiraiya, nor had they announced him as a rebel. As a disciple of the Hokage, only the Hokage himself could issue an arrest order. The Hokage twirled the pipe in his hand and smiled, saying, don't worry, Jiraiya is an exceptional ninja who embodies the will of fire. He understands the importance. Hamura and Koharu frowned, unconvinced by Hiruzen's words. He added, Jiraiya also wrote to me earlier, saying that this would improve Konoha's relationship with Amigakure and earn a favor from Hanzo. Upon hearing this, Hamura's dissatisfaction grew even more. He knew that Hiruzen, being Jiraiya's teacher, he would be unable to bring himself to punish him and was making excuses. Hiruzen, you are too lenient with your students, and you claim that now is not the time for anger. He is a Konoha ninja, not a ninja of the Amigakure. Although Konoha emerged as the final victor in the Land of Rain War, the victory was not without difficulties. The crucial point was that while Konoha defeated Amigakure, they failed to defeat Hanzo, the leader of Amigakure. During the final battle of the Aim, hundreds of Konoha ninjas who followed Orochimaru and Jiraiya were killed. In the end, only Orochimaru, Jiraiya, and Tsunade were spared by Hanzo and were given the name Sannin. Now, the animosity between Konoha and Amigakure can be described as intense. If Hanzo hadn't shown appreciation or had been cautious enough to kill Jiraiya outright, Konoha wouldn't have been able to protect him. All Hanzo needed to do was frame Jiraiya for stealing vital information from other countries and expose it to the ninja world. Other ninja villages would gladly see Konoha weakened and lend support to Hanzo, and Konoha would find itself isolated. If anything happens, as Hokage, I will take responsibility. Hiruzen said this, abruptly putting an end to Homura and Koharu's desire to punish Jiraiya. Danzo, what are your thoughts on this matter? Homura didn't believe that Hiruzen could truly bear such responsibility, he was merely showing favoritism towards his own disciple. So he turned his attention to the leader of the route, Danzi. Since Danzo's arrival, he had remained silent, sitting quietly on the side. However, Homura and Koharu had to acknowledge the suggestion put forth by Danzo. Didn't Hiruzen already address it? If something goes wrong with Jiraiya, he will take responsibility. He is Konoha's Hokage. Besides, I have other matters to attend to at the route, so I will take my leave. Danzo stood up from his seat and left the conference room, not willing to stay any longer. He, too, couldn't change what Hiruzen had decided. Such is the power of the Hokage. Regardless, if something were to happen to Jiraiya, he could openly say the Hokage was responsible. So why worry? Homura and Koharu exchanged glances, not expecting Danzo to depart so easily. Since Danzo does not object, let it be regarding Jiraiya. Hiruzen, you should also pay closer attention to the training of medical ninjas. Konoha is in urgent need of excellent medical ninjas like Tsunade. Realizing that there was no room for further action, Homura and Koharu followed Danzo's lead and left. Before departing, they reminded Hiruzen to prioritize the training of medical ninjas. Hiruzen shook his head, these three individuals always seemed eager to provoke him. However, considering Jiraiya's recent stay in the Amigakure and his adoption of orphans, Hiruzen, as his teacher, felt that it was impulsive and reckless. It didn't align with the behavior expected of a ninja. Guilt-ridden or driven by other reasons, Hiruzen remained unaware. But if Jiraiya were forcibly brought back, something unpleasant might occur. As long as he could be of use in a critical moment, Hiruzen had no choice but to turn a blind eye to this frequently out-of-sync disciple. He would write a letter to Jiraiya, advising him to prioritize his own safety and to be wary of the three orphans from the Land of Rain in case of danger. This led to the most pressing questions. The training of medical ninjas. Restricting the growth of the root. These were the headaches faced by Hiruzen as the Hokage. Especially the latter issue, the root. As a branch of the Umbu, it had now become a personal organization controlled solely by high-level elders. Even the Hokage himself couldn't penetrate their ranks, and they grew increasingly mysterious. The original purpose of establishing the route was to handle covert missions that couldn't be officially carried out under the Umbu's name, directly accountable to the Hokage. It was meant to be a subdivision of the Umbu under Danzo's control. However, it had unexpectedly evolved to its present state, with its roots deeply embedded, surpassing the secrecy even within the Hokage's Umbu. The ninjas there had severed their emotions and become Danzo's personal armed force. What was needed now was balance. How could the village find equilibrium? Hiruzen fell deep into thought. During the war, everyone temporarily set aside their prejudices and united against the outside world. But after the war, the true complexities emerged. The following day. Ninja Academy, Medical Ninjutsu Experimental Class. The instructor who arrived for class today was not the Umbu medical jonin as expected, but a female ninja with a somewhat unfamiliar appearance. She wore the standard Konoha jonin uniform, with pale golden double ponytails tied behind her head, giving her a bold aura. I'm a Konoha jonin by the name Tsunade, and I will be your medical ninjutsu teacher henceforth. As she walked to the front podium, she introduced herself to the students in the classroom. Whispers filled the room, the students were not entirely unfamiliar with Tsunade. In Konoha, she was one of the most renowned jonin, the granddaughter of the first Hokage, a disciple of the third Hokage, and the village's top medical jonin. She had made significant achievements in the war with AIM and was honored with the title of Sannin by Hanzo, the leader of Amigakure. However, it was unexpected that she would replace the original Umbu jonin, who was skilled in medical ninjutsu, and become their new teacher. Nonetheless, this sparked curiosity and excitement among the students. Compared to the mysterious Umbu who wore animal masks all the time, Tsunade was a young and beautiful woman with ample bosom. It was like having your dream teacher. For instance, during class, they could enjoy watching an exciting ball game for free. Shiraishi sat in the corner of the classroom, secretly carefully observing Tsunade's every move. As expected of a jonin and the granddaughter of the first Hokage, her every action was flawless. It seemed that there was still a considerable gap between himself and a jonin. Shiraishi gained a more intuitive understanding of what it meant to be a jonin. When class ended, Ruri was waiting for him outside. It was already 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and the sun was slowly descending in the west, casting a beautiful sunset in the distance. Tsunade came out of the classroom, carrying a textbook in her hands. She noticed Shiraishi and Ruri and was slightly surprised. Of course, her attention wasn't on the ordinary student Shiraishi, but on Ruri. The Uchiha emblem on the other party's attire was quite conspicuous, allowing Tsunade to immediately recognize that Ruri was from the Uchiha clan. "Who are you?" Tsunade seemed intrigued. A Uchiha ninja waiting here alongside a civilian was quite unusual. Before taking charge of this class, Tsunade had read the profiles of all the students in Shiraishi's class. Even when she first arrived to teach, she had researched basic information about Shiraishi. Civilian, both parents deceased. Tsunade's mind quickly connected the dots. "Tsunade, I am Uchiha Ruri." In the face of Tsunade's Jonin status, Ruri behaved neither humble nor arrogant. After all, she was going to become a Jonin herself, sooner or later, with power and status. Moreover, Tsunade's identity was highly sensitive. As the direct-line princess of the Senju clan, she was, to some extent, the mortal enemy of the Uchiha, to which Ruri belonged. If Tsunade wanted to make things difficult for her, Ruri would never sit here and await her fate. Tsunade simply nodded, not saying much and not making things difficult for the young Ruri, even though she hailed from the Uchiha clan. After inquiring about Ruri's name, Tsunade left the hallway. "Why is Jonin Tsunade here?" Ruri asked Shiraishi, wondering why a Jonin like Tsunade would be present. The previous teacher was replaced. Now Tsunade-sensei is responsible for teaching the students in the first experimental class about medical ninjutsu. Shiraishi replied casually. "I see. It seems that the village is putting great effort into training medical ninjas." "Yeah, I was quite honored when I found out beforehand." Looking at the smile on Shiraishi's face, Ruri couldn't help but feel speechless. Why didn't she see any signs of being honored from this guy? Men are such hypocrites. Episode 22. Nawaki. Upon returning to her office, Tsunade casually picked up the materials left by a teacher from the first experimental class. These documents contained detailed information on over 30 students, including Shiraishi. One of the records read as follows. Chiba Shiraishi, proficient in theoretical knowledge, with medium-level ninjutsu and shuriken skills. While he excels in the medical experimental class, his practical abilities are neither outstanding nor poor. How would you describe him? Solid. Indeed, his foundation is very solid, but limited by his talent. He tends to conform too much. With a serious personality, he is constrained by his abilities, and his ultimate achievement will likely be that of a skilled chunin specializing in medical ninjutsu. You need not focus too much attention on him, as he is a self-learner and the most diligent and serious student in the class. However, if you invest all your energy into him, he will not stand out due to his elite education. Therefore, we cannot have high expectations for him, but he will not disappoint. This was the sharp evaluation of Shiraishi in the documents left by the Umbu, handed over to Tsunade. Tsunade initially thought there might be something extraordinary about Shiraishi, especially since he had contact with a member of the Uchiha clan. However, it appears that there is nothing particularly special about him. It seems she was overly cautious. How capable can he be? The innocence of children's friendships is truly remarkable. Tsunade's arrival at the Ninja Academy to teach medical ninjutsu did not cause any commotion. After all, she was only responsible for the experimental class, which was the sole class training medical ninjas. She taught for only 2 hours after school each day. Tsunade's teaching skills surpassed those of the Umbu Jonin who had left, and even Shiraishi was greatly inspired by her. Perhaps in terms of comprehensive medical skills, excluding chakra components, Shiraishi did not consider himself weak compared to Tsunade. However, the profession of a medical ninja is inseparable from dealing with chakra, and this is where Shiraishi believes the difference lies between himself and Tsunade. After all, a ninja is still a ninja, and a medical ninja is still a ninja. Shiraishi's desire is not only to acquire basic knowledge, but also to delve deeper into the realms of chakra and medical ninjutsu. This is something he cannot achieve through self-study alone. While he can learn medical ninjutsu by himself and utilize it effectively, determining what comes next and how to further enhance his medical ninjutsu requires his own thinking and exploration. Tsunade's arrival undoubtedly dispelled the doubts that he had accumulated over the years. As a result, he holds a great deal of respect for Tsunade. Tsunade is a medical ninja who excels in the field of medicine. It is no exaggeration to call her Konoha's strongest medical ninja. Therefore, Shiraishi is never late to Tsunade's class, nor does he leave early. He listens attentively and occasionally visits Tsunade's office after class to ask her challenging questions. Tsunade is naturally willing to teach such things. Students who possess such eagerness to learn are rare in the school. The other students in the experimental class, on the other hand, prioritize playing and going home after class instead of seeking further knowledge. If Shiraishi's talent weren't so average, Tsunade would have considered taking him on as a disciple. Diligent and hardworking, with an insatiable thirst for knowledge, he is the epitome of a perfect student. However, accepting disciples is not a decision to be made lightly. Shiraishi sees Tsunade as his teacher, not in the sense of passing down a specific lineage, but as an admiration for a trailblazer. Tsunade is perceptive enough to discern this distinction. It's just a shame for such a dedicated student. While high expectations cannot be placed on him, he will not disappoint. Tsunade believes this comment truly suits Shiraishi. On this particular day, after school, Shiraishi was the first to arrive at the experimental class, eagerly waiting for Tsunade to begin the lesson. "Classmate, who are you?" Upon entering the classroom, Shiraishi noticed that someone had already taken the lead, occupying Tsunade's chair at the podium. Shiraishi remembered the appearance and names of all the students in the experimental class, yet he couldn't recall anyone like the person in front of him. The individual was not much older than himself, but already wore Konoha's ninja forehead protector, indicating they were an official system ninja. "I am Senju Nawaki. Please take care me." Wearing a cheerful smile, the person introduced themselves proactively. "Senju?" Shiraishi's heart skipped a beat. That's the surname of the first Hokage. Is the Senju clan here to find Tsunade-sensei? While Shiraishi pondered, he smiled back at Nawaki and replied, "I'm Chiba Shiraishi. It's a pleasure to meet you, Nawaki-senpai. I've heard about you." Nawaki suddenly mentioned. "Oh? You have a close relationship with Uchiha Ruri. She is the most outstanding genius of the Uchiha clan, and she's the opponent I want to defeat most." Despite his words, Nawaki's face displayed no arrogance. His smile remained sunny and confident, as if victory was certain. "Ah, I see." Shiraishi felt a bit perplexed. "Don't worry, it's just a friendly competition. However, I'll wait until she finishes this current challenge after becoming a genin. Please pass along my message to her." "Alright, I will." As expected, the other person didn't pay much attention to him. Ruri truly stands out and attracts attention as a genius. After all, Shiraishi is quite ordinary, so his strength is probably only slightly superior to that of Nawaki-senpai. Just as Nawaki was about to say something, the classroom door swung open once again. It was Tsunade who entered. "Nei-san." Upon seeing Tsunade, Nawaki immediately rushed into her arms, behaving like a child who never grew up. Shiraishi watched this scene. He really envied Nawaki-senpai. But Nawaki, being Tsunade's younger brother, he didn't expect that. He envied him even more for having such a loving elder sister. "Tsunade-sensei, good afternoon," Shiraishi approached, smiling and bowing to greet her. "It's you, Shiraishi. You're always here early," Tsunade responded to Shiraishi, then reluctantly pushed Nawaki out of her arms and scolded him. "Honestly, Nawaki, you're old enough. Don't always rely on your sister. What's the harm?" "It's been 3 years since my sister went to the front lines," Nawaki mischievously retorted. Alright, I get it. You're such a troublemaker. Go on now, sister has a class to teach here soon. Where's Orochimaru? How is he disciplining his disciple?" Tsunade's face grew displeased, and her fists clenched. "This has nothing to do with Orochimaru-sensei. Anyway, sister, I'll go now. Oh, and remember not to secretly drink sake and go wild during class, and you're not allowed to gamble with students." "Nawaki, you rascal. I'm a jonin of the village too. How could I do such things?" Tsunade's face flushed with anger, and she was on the verge of jumping up, especially in front of her students. Nawaki is becoming more audacious by the day. After Nawaki left, Shiraishi stood there with an embarrassed expression. I heard something quite unbelievable from Nawaki-senpai just now. Tsunade-sensei couldn't really do that, right? What did you say, you little weed? I'll teach you a lesson if you dare to spread any rumors. Got it? Tsunade glared at him with a menacing gaze. I understand. Tsunade-sensei has an excellent character. She is kind and amiable, so she wouldn't drink excessively, go gambling, or use violence against students for no reason. There's no doubt that she's the best jonin in the village. There's no one else like her. Observing Tsunade's kind expression, Shiraishi nodded in understanding. Tsunade was satisfied with Shiraishi's understanding and retracted her fist. Shiraishi sighed. Women are truly terrifying creatures. If he had uttered a single word just now, his house would surely have been demolished by Tsunade. After all, there are terrifying legends about Tsunade at the bathhouse that have been passed down for a long time. The last person to suffer the consequences was Jiraiya, another member of the Sannin. But it wasn't Jiraiya's house that got destroyed, it was Jiraiya's entire body. He barely survived after being rushed to the hospital for emergency treatment. The monstrous female Tyrannosaurus. Tsunade-sensei must be so intimidating that she doesn't have a boyfriend, right? What did you say? Tsunade's eyes suddenly turned menacing. Oh, no, I mean Tsunade-sensei is so amazing that there's probably no man in the village who is worthy of you. Shiraishi quickly changed his tone. I apologize. Your sensei does have a boyfriend, and he's great. He's also a man who will become Hokage sooner or later. As she spoke, Tsunade's eyes filled with tenderness. Shiraishi was stunned. Episode 23. Natural Energy. The next day, in the outdoor class. Nawaki? As Shiraishi uttered this name, both familiar and unfamiliar, to Ruri, she frowned. Yes, I met him yesterday afternoon during the experimental class. He seemed very interested in defeating you, Shiraishi said, observing Ruri's reaction with interest. However, Shiraishi was disappointed when Ruri merely nodded lightly. Many people wanted to challenge her. But considering that the other party was the grandson of the first Hokage, he must possess some skills. What is his strength? Maybe slightly weaker than me. That's a challenger I have some expectations for. Ruri, aware of Shiraishi's full strength, lowered her estimation of the Nawaki. Although defeating him was impossible, she could at least derive some satisfaction from the fight. But I heard from Jonin that his teacher, Orochimaru Jonin, who recently returned to the village, is said to be a genius ninja not seen in decades. We should be careful then. Don't worry, my instructor, who is an esteemed elder of the clan, is well known. Although retired, his expertise and understanding of ninjutsu rival those of the third Hokage in the village. Besides, I have Sharingan and your scientific training method. Give me 2 more years, and even if he's a Jonin, I can hold my own. Ruri spoke with confidence. She was currently only in the 4th grade, with 2 more school years before graduation. She had sufficient time to improve and grow. While Nawaki had connections and resources, the treatment Ruri enjoyed within the Uchiha clan was unmatched. The Uchiha clan was not lacking in powerful Jonin. I just want to remind you to be cautious. I have complete faith in you. After all, nobody knows if any unexpected events will occur in the next 2 years that could put Nawaki in danger. The war has just ended, and it is still somewhat risky to engage in missions outside. Shiraishi wasn't cursing Nawaki, but rather stating that immediately after a war, it might be more dangerous than during the actual conflict. Performing missions outside was still perilous, even with Sannin taking care of him. Speaking of which, Nawaki-senpai is the grandson of the first Hokage. Could he have inherited the Hiswood release? That bloodline played a crucial role in pacifying the turbulent Warring States era. Shiraishi pondered this question. Hearing Shiraishi's words, Ruri responded, that's impossible. According to our Uchiha clan records, only the first Hokage in the Senju clan awakened with release. Shiraishi raised an eyebrow, saying, that's quite strange. Strange? How so? Well, would release is a Kekkai Genkai, right? This ability should be passed down to future generations, just like the Uchiha Sharingan and Hyuga's Byakugan. If Nawaki-senpai didn't awaken the wood release, it would be rather odd. After all, his lineage is closely related to the first Hokage. As far as I know, Tsunade can't use wood release either. Shiraishi was even more puzzled. Initially, Shiraishi didn't think much about it. But upon closer examination, he understood why the rest of the Senju clan didn't inherit wood release. Shiraishi considered wood release to be a Kekkai Genkai created by the first Hokage, Hashirama Senju. In other words, wood release wouldn't awaken in other members of the Senju clan but would undoubtedly appear in his direct descendants. Nawaki didn't awaken wood release, which could be explained by his young age and lack of strength. However, Tsunade was already a renowned Jonin in the village and held a leadership position among Jonin. Yet this Jonin hadn't awakened wood release either. Could it be that wood release wasn't a Kekkai Genkai at all? Or perhaps awakening it required some special conditions? Shiraishi couldn't figure it out. I recall you mentioning that the first Hokage also used something called Sage Mode, right? Ah, yes, I did mention that. I stumbled upon it while reading our clan books. It said that there's a special energy called natural energy in nature, which seems to be related to Sage Mode. I don't know the details, though. Could this be connected to wood release? Who knows? Many things about our predecessors are difficult to verify. I've never heard of anyone in the Uchiha clan practicing Sage Mode, otherwise, there would be practice methods passed down. Ruri was also intrigued by Sage Mode but didn't know how to attain its power. What does natural energy look like? Shiraishi looked up at the sky with a puzzled expression, but there was a desire to explore in his eyes. To understand Sage Mode, one must first grasp natural energy. To grasp natural energy, one must connect with nature and accept its energy. Ruri could tell that Shiraishi was also highly interested in the so-called sage mode. It was a common trait of his. Whenever he encountered something unknown, his curiosity would surpass even hers. "I'll bring you a tome on it tomorrow." "Huh? Is that okay? Those books are precious, right?" "Precious? Not really. They're just scraps of information. Many people in the ninja world know about the existence of wood release, but only the first Hokage can use it. The same goes for sage mode. Knowing about it and learning to master it are two different things." As promised, Ruri gave Shiraishi some of Uchiha's books they had on sage mode the following day. After all, those books had no effect when left unused at her home. To Shiraishi, they were like treasures. Even if it was just superficial knowledge of immortality, he considered it highly valuable. After practicing with Ruri for a while that night, Shiraishi couldn't wait to return home and spread out the materials on sage mode on his desk. The scroll that contained the knowledge of sage mode was ancient, with some dust that couldn't be wiped away. It was firmly fixed on the scroll. Shiraishi paid no mind to it, opening the scroll and starting to read its contents. The scroll provided a rough explanation that ordinary chakra, when combined with natural energy from the outside world, creates a form of chakra known as senjutsu chakra. Once senjutsu chakra is formed, it can be used to perform jutsus. Before using senjutsu chakra, one must first enter sage mode. The introduction was brief. However, the most important aspect mentioned was natural energy. Ordinary chakra is created by merging a ninja's physical and mental energy. Senjutsu chakra, on the other hand, involves adding natural energy to the mix, resulting in senjutsu chakra. And natural energy exists in the air and the earth. In essence, natural energy is everywhere. To sense the energy of nature, one must become one with nature. At this point, the scroll's recording abruptly ceased. There was no information on how to integrate with nature or how to receive and balance natural energy. None of these crucial details were recorded. Episode 25. I don't want to work hard. To be honest, Shiraishi felt a bit disappointed after reading the scroll. However, upon further contemplation, it was understandable. If the method for practicing sage mode was clearly stated in the scroll, then Ruri wouldn't need to give it to him personally. Shiraishi had reached a bottleneck in his chakra research and needed something new to deepen his understanding. Originally, he hoped to gain inspiration from sage art, but the knowledge in the scroll proved to be of little use to him. No. Giving up so easily wasn't his style. In fact, there is still some value in the information contained in the scroll. Although it doesn't provide specific instructions on how to integrate with nature and sense its energy, if the assumption is correct, then understanding the process of integration and feeling the existence of natural energy is crucial. Therefore, integration with nature is the key. How does one achieve integration? Shiraishi took out the notes he had previously written about chakra. Through his research, he had uncovered hidden information about chakra. For instance, the synthesis of chakra can be traced. The combination of physical and spiritual energy forms a stable system. By following this system, chakra can be consistently produced. And in the case of senjutsu, natural energy is added to this system. From a 2-energy system to a stable 3-energy system. The system of senjutsu must exist and be stable and sustainable. There is a profound connection between ordinary chakra and senjutsu chakra. This connection might hold the key to attracting natural energy. So, how does one use ordinary chakra to induce natural energy? What role does ordinary chakra play when merging with nature? The production of physical energy can be achieved through physical exercise or by consuming essential nutrients. Carbohydrates, fats, and proteins are oxidized in the human body and are necessary for maintaining bodily functions. Spiritual energy is related to consciousness. More broadly, it is linked to the soul. The Uchiha clan's Sharingan can only be activated under highly emotional states. According to Ruri, this also relates to spiritual energy. Therefore, emotions can be considered mental energy, or more precisely, the intensity of one's emotions depends on their mental strength. At the end of his notes, Shiraishi wrote down his conclusions. Chakra is influenced by the individual's daily intake of vital substances, their emotional state, and their innate soul and physical strength. These factors affect the efficiency of chakra refinement. He solved the issue of the source of ordinary chakra and further analyzed the specific sources of physical energy and spiritual energy. As for natural energy, it comes from the air and the earth, ubiquitous. I'm constantly breathing in air. Does that count as absorbing natural energy? Shiraishi gazed at the dark night sky outside his window, feeling the refreshing breeze, and mused to himself. This seems quite fascinating. Another Sunday had arrived, a day off from training. Shiraishi visited the renowned Uchiha clan. It was like a village within a village. The Uchiha clan was situated far from the heart of Konoha. Honestly, for a wealthy family, its location was somewhat distant from the village's core. After all, the Uchiha clan held significant authority as the village's military police force. How immense was their power? For instance, under normal circumstances, even the Umbu couldn't freely command them. He needed to present an order from the Hokage. On the other hand, the Uchiha clan's police force didn't require such an order. They could apprehend anyone they deemed necessary, although the final judgment had to be arbitrated by the Hokage. But this also meant that the Uchiha clan's police force wielded more power than the Hokage's direct subordinates, the Umbu. For a ninja, possessing too much power would inevitably lead to a tragic end. However, this was the Uchiha clan. Together with the Senju clan, they had founded Konoha. As the two founding clans of the village, it was natural for them to possess such authority. And only individuals from this clan were qualified and capable of managing the military police force. Upon his first entrance into the Uchiha clan, Shiraishi encountered a massive and luxurious building, the headquarters of the Uchiha clan's police force. At the entrance, 2 Uchiha Chunin guards were usually stationed. When they saw a visitor like Shiraishi entering the Uchiha clan, they didn't halt him or chase him away. The Uchiha clan didn't prohibit outsiders from visiting as long as they didn't provoke any trouble. In fact, they were quite accommodating, right? According to the map provided by Ruri, Shiraishi searched for the location of her house within the Uchiha clan. The Uchiha clan covered a vast area, and as Shiraishi looked for Ruri's residence, he passed by numerous large training grounds. The area surrounding the shop was bustling as well. Shiraishi occasionally spotted non-Uchiha adults shopping there, indicating a harmonious coexistence. Though Shiraishi had heard that the Uchiha of the police force were arrogant, he had only heard about it from others and had never actually witnessed their arrogance. However, it was unreasonable to expect every member of a family to have the same personality. Some individuals would naturally be more aggressive if others were milder. Just like some civilians in Konoha who weren't entirely honest, Shiraishi had been scammed while dining out and encountered troublemakers on the streets. Most people, whether wealthy ninjas or commoners, were ordinary individuals fulfilling their duties. They were honest, kind, and possessed many admirable qualities. Thus, it was unfair to judge them all based on stereotypes. As Shiraishi contemplated these thoughts, he arrived at the glass house at the end of the road on the map. Looking at the enormous mansion before him, Shiraishi was in awe. It was the most luxurious residence he had encountered on his way. None of the mansions he had seen previously could compare to it. Upon visual inspection, he estimated that the mansion covered an area of several thousand square meters. Through the walls, he caught a glimpse of cherry blossom trees in full bloom within the courtyard. A few pink petals drifted from the trees, releasing a fragrant aroma. His first impression was the sheer size of the mansion. His second observation was that the Ruri family was incredibly wealthy. A property of this magnitude would easily cost hundreds of millions of ryo. Shiraishi couldn't help but feel that his own living situation was no different from that of a doghouse. "Hello, are you here to see Ruri-sama?" The young woman in a kimono, who was engaged in cleaning, noticed Shiraishi standing at the door. She paused her work, approached him with a gentle smile, and asked. "Yes, I'm Chiba Shiraishi. I believe I was invited." Upon hearing Shiraishi's introduction, the maid in the kimono continued to smile gently and nodded. "Please come with me. Ruri-sama is waiting for you inside." The maid's actions and mannerisms were flawless, and she used honorifics appropriately. Shiraishi followed the maid into this extraordinarily large mansion. The buildings here were mainly constructed from 200-year-old cedar trees. The corridor's planks were clean and translucent, creating a soft ambience. Most doors and windows were simple and transparent. There was a pond in the courtyard, surrounded by old trees of various species, each showcasing its age. As Shiraishi walked through the corridors, he encountered several maids passing by. They were all dressed neatly in kimonos and greeted Shiraishi with kind smiles, clearly displaying their polite nature. Cleaning such a large mansion must be no easy task even with so many maids. And this was just a small portion of the front yard. Ruri resided in the largest house located in the backyard. The maid slid open the wooden door and bowed respectfully to the occupants inside. "Ruri-sama, the guest has arrived. You may leave." "Understood." The maid followed Ruri's instructions and departed. Shiraishi entered the room, casting curious glances around. The vast space was almost empty, with only a few cushions and a short tea table. Aside from that, there was only a polished wooden floor that exuded a high-end atmosphere. The simple life of a capitalist. Shiraishi suddenly halted his train of thought. Episode 26. Experiment. To be honest, your house is incredibly huge, Shiraishi remarked as he surveyed the room where Ruri was waiting. He made himself comfortable without any reservation. It is quite spacious, but it can also feel empty sometimes, Ruri responded. By the way, aren't your parents at home? Shouldn't I greet them? Shiraishi asked. Ruri shook her head and explained, no, they are hardly ever in the village. They don't possess ninja talents, so they work in a small business outside the village. They only send a small amount of money back each month. Shiraishi's eyebrows twitched at the mention of a small business. He wondered if Ruri misunderstood his original intention. Anyway, I'm here to conduct an experiment. Is there an empty and secure vacant house available? Shiraishi asked, piquing Ruri's curiosity. Ruri frowned, not fully understanding Shiraishi's intentions. She didn't think he needed such an elaborate setup for his experiments. Usually, Shiraishi's research funds and living expenses were effortlessly provided for him. After hearing about his financial situation, she didn't expect him to repay the funds. She had never grasped the concept of money since childhood. I believe the movement may be quite large and dangerous. The laboratory in my house is too small, Shiraishi explained. Ruri decided not to press further and guided Shiraishi through a corridor to an empty house. She opened a plank within the house, revealing a secret passage leading underground. The passage was equipped with lighting, and it led to an underground space of approximately 50 square meters. The surroundings and floor were protected by sturdy stone slabs, capable of withstanding the impact of ninjutsu. Is this space suitable? If not, there is a slightly larger one next door, twice the size, Ruri offered. No, this is more than enough. It exceeds my expectations, Shiraishi responded, thoroughly satisfied with the enclosed space. I'll leave you to it then. Call me if you need anything, Ruri said before heading back upstairs. Shiraishi took out a scroll, unfurled it on the ground, and formed seals with his hands. A puff of white smoke emerged along with a variety of research instruments. These research tools were relatively small in size and could easily be stored within scrolls. Shiraishi meticulously arranged the equipment and initiated the experiment. Unlike his usual experiments, this one entailed significant risks. However, if successful, the rewards would be immense. As evening fell and the sun disappeared from the sky, Shiraishi remained underground, not emerging from the basement. In her room, Ruri finished her afternoon chakra refinement and instructed the maid to prepare dinner. Noticing that Shiraishi was preoccupied, she ate her meal alone. Even after finishing, Shiraishi remained in the basement. She chose to disregard his presence. It wasn't until midnight, while Ruri was lost in a deep sleep, that the earth began to tremble. Ruri's body stirred slightly as she abruptly woke up and surveyed her surroundings. An earthquake? No, that didn't seem right, she quickly dismissed the thought. The source of the tremor was too close, and the nature of the vibrations suggested an explosive event. Though not overly apparent, she could sense it herself. Without wasting any time, Ruri slipped on her jacket and black tights, slid open the wooden door, and swiftly made her way towards another corridor. Her destination was the basement of the adjacent house. Upon reaching the basement, Ruri was met with a chaotic scene, a massive crater at the center of the room. Even the durable floor, designed to withstand the impact of ninjutsu, had been blown apart. Ruri's eyes gleamed with a peculiar expression. Amidst the blasted crater, a powerful chakra lingered. It felt slightly different, but its strength emitted an overwhelming aura that left Ruri with a sense of primal dread. Among the debris lay shattered research instruments, rendered useless and destroyed beyond repair. How did this happen? Shiraishi snapped out of his daze and asked a rather foolish question. Ruri paid no mind to his question. She wasn't angry about the mess he had made of her basement, rather, she was concerned about what experiment Shiraishi had conducted to cause such an explosion. What were you experimenting with? She inquired. I was experimenting with harnessing natural energy. Shiraishi admitted without hesitation. Sage mode? Ruri gazed at Shiraishi in astonishment. Well, the experiment was based on assumptions and procedures related to Sage now, but now I can add the conclusion, Shiraishi replied, taking out his notebook from his ninja bag. Ruri accepted the notebook and opened it, but the technical terms and jargon made it difficult for her to understand the contents. The experiment failed? Ruri presumed, given the explosion she witnessed. Well, one could say it failed, or one could say it succeeded. I managed to guide and merge natural energy with ordinary chakra, but I don't know the proper ratio for their compatibility. Perhaps there are other factors required for successful fusion, which resulted in this experimental accident. The uncontrollable neutralization of natural energy and chakra was far more volatile than I anticipated, Shiraishi explained, thoughtfully examining a damaged research tool. Ruri nodded in agreement. Without the use of senjutsu, ordinary chakra didn't possess such destructive power. What do you need next? For the first time, Ruri, who had never shown much interest in Shiraishi's research, expressed her support. Money, lots of money. And a more stable environment. Shiraishi responded candidly. In his view, Ruri provided the funds and the research location, while he focused on the experiments. They would both share in the final results, which he deemed fair. Shiraishi followed Ruri to the room above. You want me to live here? Shiraishi expressed surprise at Ruri's sudden proposal. Yes, it's too inconvenient to keep going back and forth. Otherwise, you'll have limited time to study natural energy, and your progress will be slow, Ruri explained. But won't this raise suspicion? Shiraishi voiced his concerns. Not all the maids in my household are from the Uchiha clan. I can hire you as an official employee with a formal contract. Besides, who would pay much attention to a student from the Ninja Academy? Do you think Hokage would concern himself with such trivial matters? And even if an investigation were to take place, it would be the responsibility of the Uchiha police, Ruri reasoned. Shiraishi found her reasoning sound. After all, conducting experiments on natural energy in his own home would be impractical. His previous experiments were relatively formal and not dangerous. Even if he was accidentally discovered, he could explain his way out of it. But the experimentation with natural energy was different. Everything involved in it was top secret and had to be kept confidential. If Ruri employed him with a formal contract to work in her house, it would be an effective way to maintain secrecy. Neither the Hokage nor Anbu would not have the leisure to monitor a student from the academy, especially when Shiraishi had shown no hostility towards the village. He was the rightful successor of the Will of Fire. Even if any suspicion were to arise, it would fall under the jurisdiction of the Uchiha police. And with Ruri being a genius from the Uchiha clan and having a background, they could handle any issues that might arise. Furthermore, Shiraishi was in dire financial circumstances. Considering that Konoha had no child protection laws, Shiraishi was kicked out of the orphanage at the age of 6 and had to fend for himself, working and earning money as an underage child. It was a reasonable arrangement. Ruri offering him employment with a formal contract was also a way of helping a friend. After all, in the eyes of many, he and Ruri were inseparable friends. It was only natural for friends to support and assist each other. This way, he would have enough time to conduct his experiments with natural energy, and the secrecy would be maintained. On that note, how do you extract natural energy? Ruri asked the question she was most curious about. The information she had previously given Shiraishi about the Sage Mode was merely a surface-level understanding. Ruri was intrigued by how Shiraishi managed to extract natural energy. Haven't you read my previous notes? It's actually quite simple. I don't know how the first Hokage guided natural energy, but he did it by guiding it through the chakra pathway. He used the chakra system as bait to draw out natural energy, Shiraishi explained. When it comes to the specific source of chakra, it is actually related to our daily diet. Physical strength is closely tied to food intake, such as carbohydrates, proteins, fats, citric acid, and more. And spiritual energy is not only connected to the soul, but also influenced by emotions. It can affect a person's mental state, or their state. Ultimately, physical and mental power stem from these factors, producing a chemical reaction within the human body, which is then fused and extracted as chakra. Of course, this also involves the complex self-processing system within the human body, and there are variations in the physical qualities of different individuals, resulting in, do you understand? Shiraishi concluded. Episode 27. A shocking secret. In order to further study natural energy, we need a more formal lab, Ruri stated with a serious expression. The affairs here must remain unknown to outsiders, and the procurement of research equipment must also be conducted in secrecy. Shiraishi pondered over the dilemma of keeping their activities hidden from the maids. However, before he could voice his concerns, Ruri bit her thumb and quickly formed a series of hand seals. Finally, she pressed her palm onto the ground with a snap. Summoning Jutsu. A puff of white smoke filled the air, revealing a black cat in front of Shiraishi and Ruri. The cat was about half the size of a human and wagged its tail at Ruri. Ruri presented a list displaying various research equipment names. Purchase all the items on this list, and I will inspect them in a day, Ruri commanded. The black cat nodded decisively, transforming into white smoke and disappearing with a bang. Shiraishi stared at the spot where the cat had vanished. That was. The Uchiha and the Ninja Cat clan have always been allies. Before entering the academy, I formed a summoning contract with some ninja cats. They ensure our safety and remain concealed to avoid detection by the village, Ruri explained. The Ninja Cats operates discreetly in the shadows of the ninja world, leaving traces wherever they go. Their actions, whether it's gathering information or procuring goods, are top-notch. For Ruri, having ninja cats under a summoning contract was undeniably a valuable asset and her most formidable assistance. Shiraishi marveled at Ruri's connections. It highlighted the difference between the affluent and the common people. Not only did she possess a comprehensive training methods and a diverse collection of reference books, but she also had a broader network of contacts compared to ordinary individuals. Living in Ruri's house did not cause any setbacks or disruptions. To the village, it was an insignificant matter. Now, Shiraishi enjoyed a life of luxury in a room that could rival a high-end hotel. He slept on a plush and comfortable bed, savored a nutritious breakfast meticulously prepared by the maids each morning, and when he felt tired, he could stroll in the yard or fish in the pond. He was considered a helper in Ruri's family, but in reality, he was treated as a young master. Although he occasionally faced strange looks of disdain from the maids in Ruri's house, Shiraishi remained unaffected. He was diligent and confident in his abilities. What did those maids know? Shiraishi could only accompany Ruri in her practice occasionally. After school, he would rush back to the new underground laboratory that Ruri had purchased for him to study and learn how to guide natural energy. Only when he successfully guided natural energy in a stable manner could he proceed to the next step, which involved fusing it with chakra. As a result, the basement of Ruri's house frequently experienced small explosions. Although the vibrations were minimal, Ruri reinforced the surrounding area of the laboratory to ensure complete concealment, to the point where the vibrations caused by the explosions could not be felt above ground. These sophisticated research instruments, along with the environmental fortifications of the laboratory, were shipped from the land of iron. According to Ruri, they cost a total of 45 million ryo, which accounted for 1/10 of her bank account's pocket money. Shiraishi couldn't help but wonder about the nature of the small business Ruri's parents were involved in, allowing her to live such an ordinary life. At the end of the first month living with the Ruri, Shiraishi returned to the lab after school in the afternoon to continue his research on natural energy. Meanwhile, Ruri headed to the Nanga shrine in the clan compound to attend the monthly clan meeting. The Uchiha members who participated in these meetings were not ordinary clan members. Unlocking the Sharingan was only one of the necessary requirements. They also needed to possess the strength of elite-level ninjas or be geniuses specifically groomed by the family, like Ruri, who had a high probability of inheriting the position of clan head in the future. Ruri was not only a Uchiha genius but also one of the potential candidates for the next clan head, making her eligible to attend the monthly clan meeting. Nanga Shrine. At the famous Nanga Shrine, Uchiha ninjas congregated. The sky was dark, and torches lined the road leading to the shrine's summit. Upon reaching the shrine, they entered the shrine building and opened a sealed stone slab with a technique. Uchiha ninja descended one by one. In the empty basement stood an ancient stone tablet, with flames burning on either side, casting light in the dark chamber. More than 20 individuals had gathered here, all special jounin or chunin currently affiliated with the clan. Some jounin were absent as they were carrying out missions outside the village. In this monthly clan meeting, there was nothing of great importance to announce. The relationship between the Uchiha clan and the Hokage remained harmonious. Apart from a few high-ranking executives who held resentment or hostility towards the Uchiha, the clan paid no attention to the jealous or disdainful gazes from others. As the #1 ninjas of Konoha, they had the confidence to be treated with respect. Even the Hokage had to give them due recognition, let alone those higher-ups who were weaker than the Hokage. The clan discussed trivial matters, which training grounds needed repairs, any complaints from Konoha villagers regarding the police force, identification of promising young talents within the clan, monthly expenditures compared to the previous month, industrial income of the family, and so on. After an hour, the clan meeting concluded in a long and monotonous manner. Ruri, Fugaku, remain here, instructed a gray-haired old man in his 60s, his face covered in wrinkles. Sora, an elder of the Uchiha clan. He was the most esteemed elder in the Uchiha family and, due to his advanced age, had retired from active ninja duty. He bore the heavy responsibility of training Uchiha family's prodigious ninjas. Accompanying Ruri was another Uchiha ninja, Uchiha Fugaku, who was 17 or 18 years old. He possessed a handsome appearance and displayed a mature and composed demeanor. Like Ruri, Fugaku was a prodigious ninja of the Uchiha clan. Last year, he passed the Chunin exams and became an exceptional and young Chunin. Moreover, Fugaku's Sharingan was at the level of 3 Timo, giving him a distinct advantage when facing Jounin of the same level. Ruri and Fugaku knelt before the elder Sora, patiently waiting for him to speak. Unless any unforeseen circumstances arise, the next clan head will be chosen between the two of you, elder Sora stated. Both Ruri and Fugaku remained composed upon hearing this announcement. Undoubtedly, both of you are extraordinary talents, among the rarest in our Uchiha clan. You have the potential to unlock the Manjikyu Sharingan, elder Sora continued, mentioning the name of the Manjikyu Sharingan. At the mention of the Manjikyu Sharingan, Ruri and Fugaku's expression showed slight signs of excitement. The Manjikyu Sharingan was an ultimate surpassing the 3 Tomo Sharingan. Its origins were ancient and unverifiable. Uchiha Madara, who co-founded Konoha village with the first Hokage, Hashirama, was one of the Uchiha who unlocked the Manjikyu. These legendary eyes could only be awakened by members of the Uchiha clan, granting them mastery over supreme visual prowess. As the most senior elder of the Uchiha clan, Sora had been a chunin in the village since Konoha's founding. While he couldn't disclose all of the Uchiha secrets, he possessed more knowledge than most Uchiha clan members. This included the secrets of the Manjikyu Sharingan. Elder Sora, what are the requirements for unlocking the Manjikyu Sharingan? Fugaku asked. His Sharingan had reached the level of 3 Tomo, the highest level for a normal Sharingan. To become the Uchiha clan's heir without fail and lead the Uchiha to new heights, he believed he needed to possess the power of the Manjikyu Sharingan. Fugaku, your training with the 3 Tomo Sharingan is not yet sufficient. You need to continue training. In a few days, I will recommend you to the 3rd Hokage, and you will join other Konoha ninja in team missions. There, you will gain invaluable experience, elder Sora replied. Fugaku obediently accepted the elder's guidance, placing great trust in Sora's arrangements. There must be a reason behind this decision. Elder Sora, what about me? Ruri inquired. Your luck surpasses Fugaku's, and you have discovered the conditions for unlocking the Manjikyu Sharingan. Next, you need to continue training with your Sharingan to its limits. When the time is right, I will reveal how to unlock the Manjikyu Sharingan, elder Sora explained, his gaze fixed on Ruri, filled with hidden meaning. His emphasis on Ruri seemed to exceed that of Fugaku. Ruri possessed a deep bond with the village's ninjas, an unwavering dedication to strength, and unparalleled talent in utilizing the Sharingan. At the right moment, when the allure of the legendary visual technique became irresistible, she would undoubtedly make the right choice, and the Uchiha clan would experience a new era of prosperity, surpassing even the Senju clan. Yes, Ruri nodded in understanding, though she was puzzled as to why elder Sora believed she possessed greater potential than Fugaku to unlock the Manjikyu Sharingan. For now, she didn't dwell on the matter and simply agreed, more interested in the unlocking method for the Sharingan than in the position of clan heir. Episode 28. The Second Coming of War. Konoha, Year 33, February. This winter was colder than previous years. Snowflakes fell from the sky, painting the sky a pale hue. The cold wind swept through every corner of Konoha. During this cold season, most people preferred to stay at home, huddled around the stove, unless there was something particularly important to attend to. However, for the students of the academy, attending classes was still a requirement. In Class A of the 4th grade, Ruri wore a black long-sleeved shirt and trousers, with a white scarf wrapped around her neck. Her long black hair flowed down to her waist, resembling silk and satin against the snowy backdrop. The playground was already covered in a silver blanket. During this season, one would rather spend the entire day at home instead of going to school. Suddenly, a loud noise erupted outside. The noise disrupted the silence in the classroom. Impatiently, Ruri furrowed her brows. These people were always buzzing like flies. Isn't it noisy? Shiraishi returned with a convenience bag containing hot milk tea and hamburger meat, courtesy of Ruri's money. Of course. But they can only be happy at school, Ruri responded, retrieving her own hot milk tea and a hamburger from the bag. Ayane, would you like to have one? I bought an extra. Shiraishi turned to Ayane, seated nearby. No, thank you. Ayane smiled apologetically, stood up from her seat, and walked out of the classroom. Shiraishi watched Ayane's retreating figure, sighed, and said, I can't help but feel that she's more out of place than you, Ruri. We used to play together. A dangerous glint flashed in Ruri's eyes as she looked at the convenience bag in Shiraishi's hand, questioning, since when did I allow you to take my money and invite unrelated people to eat? Well, I thought they were classmates at the same table, so. Shiraishi stammered, trying to explain. Are you planning to go hungry tonight and tomorrow morning? Who do you think is supporting you now? Understood. Just remember to inform me in advance next time. I hate it when people do things without notifying me. Is that what bothers you? I get it. I'll inform you in advance next time. Shiraishi sighed once again, settled into his seat, took a sip of the milk tea, and then bit into the hot hamburger. By the way, what was that commotion outside just now? Ruri asked Shiraishi while sipping her milk tea. Don't you know? Some 4th grade students want to graduate early, and today is the day for special recruits. I heard that 3 students from our class want to graduate 2 years early. Minato Namikaze from the neighboring class is also among them, Shiraishi revealed. That blonde pretty boy? I heard he's the top student in Class B. Even if he's the top student in Class B, he can't be your top rival in class. If Shiraishi expressed his confidence in Ruri's abilities, smiling. I won't underestimate anyone. Nevertheless, Shiraishi's compliments pleased her. The class soon began, and the homeroom teacher, Fujimura Taiga, entered the classroom, initiating the formal class. The indoor subjects for the 4th grade were more complex than those in the lower grades. There was much to learn in the 4th grade, which would greatly benefit ordinary students. Whether it was an indoor or outdoor class, Shiraishi and Ruri were free to pursue their own interests. Holding a pen and ruler, Shiraishi began drawing on the notebook in front of him, annotating texts and formulas. This was an important experiment to be conducted in the evening, involving theoretical derivations and practical applications. Over 3 months had passed since they started studying natural energy. During this period, Shiraishi had successfully channeled natural energy, although its stability remained a challenge. Even if natural energy was successfully guided, without the proper means, it would quickly dissipate and become intangible, returning to the environment. In the upcoming experiment, Shiraishi aimed to extend the duration in which natural energy manifested as a tangible form, allowing him more time to understand and successfully harness its power. Time passed quietly. Early March. Occasional light snow fell from the sky, and the weather slightly warmed, although it remained quite cold. On this late winter day, something unexpected occurred, shattering the peace and tranquility of Konoha village. The Suna ninjas launched an attack on the Land of Fire's border, inflicting heavy losses on Konoha troops stationed there and officially declaring war on Konoha. Just over a year had passed since the war in the Land of Rain, yet the flames of war once again engulfed the Fire Country. Moreover, the declaration of war targeted Sunagakure, one of the 5 great ninja villages. The 3rd Kazekage personally led a large contingent of Suna ninja, provoking a war against Konoha. A visible atmosphere of tension and heaviness loomed over Konoha village. The war in the Land of Rain had only just concluded in October of the previous year, yet within the past 6 months, war had erupted once more. The adversary this time, the Suna ninja, possessed overall strength far superior to that of the Amigakure ninjas. As part of the 5 major nations, their mobilization speed and the quality of their ninja were unmatched by the AIM ninja. The rise and fall of the Amigakure relied heavily on their leader, Hanzo. Suna was different. Their leader was the 3rd Kazekage, one of the 5 Kages, known as the most powerful Kazekage in history. Under his command were numerous talented individuals, assisted by the likes of Elder Chiyo and her brother. They were all renowned and powerful ninja within the ninja world. Furthermore, Suna had established a formidable puppet corps, which had inflicted significant losses on major ninja villages in previous wars. This time, Suna's attack was fierce, far from a battle that could be easily dismissed. It appeared that the Land of Rain War was merely an opening act for Konoha's official involvement in the Second Great Ninja War, and the true war had just begun. This oppressive feeling of an imminent storm and the approaching rain, pressuring all Konoha ninja, led the high-ranking Konoha leaders, headed by the 3rd Hokage, to convene an emergency meeting. The night following the meeting, numerous Konoha ninja left the village to support the Land of Fire's border. The major ninja clans also dispatched their elite ninja to combat the Suna forces. War was on the horizon. Episode 29. Exploring the path for sustainable development in science. For now, the matter of war has no direct impact on Shiraishi. Although the impending war bothered him a little, even if he were to join the battlefield, it would be 2 years from now. Let's stay optimistic. Maybe the war will be over in 2 years, right? Besides, war has its own benefits. Due to the war, manpower in Konoha is somewhat limited. The Umbu under the Hokage will surely be occupied with tasks every day. Who would care about him, a low-profile student at the academy? The attention of Hokage and other high-level officials is focused on the Sunagakure. The Uchiha clan, the underground laboratory in Ruri's house. The laboratory is spacious, covering an area of 100 square meters, and equipped with complete electrical equipment, illuminating the space as bright as day. In the center, there is an open area for people to move around, with testing equipment and operating tables placed nearby. Within a floor-to-ceiling transparent cylinder filled with a green solution, animal parts are immersed. After being catalyzed by an unknown method and to a certain extent, they transform into peculiar shapes. Shiraishi, holding a glass test tube containing a solid light green liquid energy, which is the physical form of the natural energy he extracted from the earth and air. How is it going? Any progress? Ruri, who descended from above, inquired about the research progress on natural energy. In order to support Shiraishi's research, Ruri finds ways to acquire necessary equipment and materials. The manpower and resources invested in this endeavor far surpass the trivial ones of the past. Not yet. Although the manifestation time of natural energy has slightly increased, it is still too short. Shiraishi sighed and put down the test tube. The light green liquid energy within it began to dilute without warning, gradually becoming lighter until it turned blank, leaving the test tube empty. The natural energy had dissipated. This happens when the natural energy is not fused with another substance during its manifestation. However, it is still usable once the natural energy dissipates. The only drawback is slightly reduced efficiency in sustainable utilization. The process of receiving, refining, and solidifying natural energy through experimentation is arduous, and it requires the assistance of metals with ultra-high chakra conductivity. Therefore, extracting natural energy is not only cumbersome but also costly. And the most important issue lies elsewhere. What do you mean? Take a look at these various biological parts. They take on these strange shapes as a result of being injected with natural energy on top of chakra, forming and absorbing a senjutsu chakra. Shiraishi walked up to a floor-to-ceiling glass cylinder and tapped on it, producing a crisp sound. The creature inside did not react, appearing lifeless. What does this mean? In other words, using senjutsu chakra comes with a significant risk. Shiraishi's eyes darkened, revealing an inexplicable expression. He went to a nearby bookshelf, picked up a scroll, spread it out on the table, and pointed to a specific line. Ryuchi Cave, Mount Mayaboku, and Shikatsu Forest are places known as the three great sacred grounds. The scroll mentions that one can trade the sage node in these locations, but the sage mode inherited from the three sacred places seem to be different from the human processing system. After learning them, the practitioner develops corresponding biological characteristics. Speaking of which, Shiraishi couldn't help but sigh. The Uchiha clan's collection of books is truly extensive. Although I haven't discovered any specific practice methods, these materials have provided me with a lot of inspiration. It appears that the sage mode of the three sacred places are likely unsuitable for human beings. Finding a system of sage mode that is compatible with humans. That would be an incredible undertaking. Shiraishi has concrete evidence to prove that the sage arts of the three sacred places are incompatible with the human body system. This is because the biological structure of frogs, snakes, and slugs is entirely different from that of humans. Sage mode suitable for frogs, snakes, and slugs are likely to clash with the human processing system. Consequently, the mortality rate and failure rate of humans practicing the arts of the three great sacred grounds would be significantly higher. Shiraishi gazed at the creatures within the glass cylinder, now transformed into something alien due to the magical chakra. This serves as the most compelling evidence. For instance, by using a mouse as the source to use senjutsu chakra and transferring it to the limbs of a snake, the snake begins to exhibit certain mouse-like characteristics. Similarly, if the chakra source is a snake, and the senjutsu chakra is transferred to a mouse, the mouse will acquire snake-like characteristics. This is how the alien creatures within the glass cylinder came to be. This is also why Shiraishi concluded that the sage arts of the three sacred places is incompatible with humans. The human body structure is far more complex and diverse than that of frogs. Mistakes in the process would have disastrous consequences. Shiraishi will not attempt it until he is completely certain. Consequently, he can only conduct experiments using animal bodies for now and resort to human experimentation once the risks are minimized. However, he rejected such inhumane practices. Yet, if he wanted to master chakra jutsu without risks, human experimentation becomes inevitable. Life isn't something to be taken lightly. That being said, it's a bit hypocritical. Nevertheless, reality unfolded step by step. The more advanced medical science and life sciences become, the more impossible it is to avoid human experiments. All progress is built upon the countless sacrifices and deaths of those who came before, as well as the valuable knowledge gained. Fortunately, he has only taken the initial steps in sage mode research. Conducting experiments on humans would be many years later. Besides, even if the use of senjutsu chakra proves impossible, the potential of natural energy is still vast. The vitality contained within natural energy is immense and holds tremendous medical value. Thus, it is a wise choice for Shiraishi to temporarily shift his focus to maximizing the utilization of natural energy to enhance his own strength. Ruri, could you assist me in locating some medicinal herbs? I intend to extract new medicines that enhance physical abilities using natural energy. What about the chakra experiment? Before proceeding with the next experiment, I still need to gather more information on Sage Mode to ensure its success. Integrating Senjutsu chakra is highly dangerous, and one small mistake could be fatal. Unfortunately, we have limited information available. We'll have to slowly uncover the details of the Sage arts from the 3 sacred places. Shiraishi is in no rush to utilize Senjutsu chakra and finds great satisfaction in working with natural energy. I see. Please write down the names of the medicinal herbs you require and create a list. I will arrange for the ninja cats to purchase and collect them as soon as possible. Ruri possesses her own private channel that allows her to obtain various materials from outside Konoha without attracting attention. Thus, procuring medicinal ingredients poses no difficulty. Furthermore, in order to safeguard the lab's secrets, Ruri has placed numerous activation detonation seals around the area. If an intruder were to enter, Ruri would immediately sense their presence and activate the spell, causing all the detonation symbols in the laboratory to explode, annihilating both the intruder and the laboratory itself. Episode 30. Life and Death. War brings pain, but life goes on day by day. Amidst the restlessness and anxiety of the villagers, Shiraishi remained the calmest. With the onset of war, the medical experimental class reverted back to its previous state with the Umbu instructor. Since the beginning of the war with Sunagakure, Tsunade had already gone to the front lines to assist a group of Konoha ninjas in the battle against Suna. Tsunade's younger brother, Nawaki, also joined the fight early on. Shiraishi hoped for their safety. War is not a matter to be taken lightly. Several months passed after the war began, and it was now July, the summer season, with a warm breeze carrying a hint of sultry heat. Shiraishi had successfully advanced to the 5th grade. He continued his training in ninjutsu and taijutsu, as well as his research on natural energy, which proceeded regularly. After months of relentless efforts and significant investment, Shiraishi finally developed the first batch of drugs utilizing natural energy. These lilac-colored tablets, about the size of a thumb, contained a blend of various medicinal ingredients and, most importantly, natural energy. This combination doubled the value and effectiveness of the medicine. Shiraishi's research had revealed that natural energy possessed a unique and powerful vitality. Without proper neutralization, directly ingesting natural energy into a living organism would likely result in immediate death. Unless a person naturally possessed an affinity for natural energy, but Shiraishi had never encountered someone with such a unique constitution, and it remained uncertain if it even existed. The new drug Shiraishi developed could enhance various aspects of the body, including self-healing, immune ability, overall strength, reaction speed, and resistance to attacks. With minimal side effects, only 1 tablet needed to be taken daily for over a month to gradually experience its effects. The duration for the drug to reach its maximum effectiveness varied depending on individual constitution and processing system abilities. Some individuals could take it for 7 to 8 months to reach saturation, while continuing to take it beyond that point would not enhance physical abilities but instead cause harm. Others could take it for over 10 months before experiencing physical rejection. Based on his self-examination, Shiraishi determined that his saturation point for taking the drug was 11 months. Once that time frame was reached, he had to discontinue its use. Ruri's saturation point fell between 11 and 12 months. To err on the side of caution, Shiraishi set her time at 11.5 months. After taking the drug, Ruri would feel less fatigue and heaviness even when using her Sharingan for extended periods after about 6 to 7 months. Shiraishi also planned to provide Ayin with the medicine when the time was right. With the imminent war, better preparation increased the chances of survival. At this time, Ayin was in the hospital. She purposely sprained her leg during training, which required her to rest in the hospital for approximately 4 days. Shiraishi assigned her important tasks that needed completion during her hospital stay. For example, whether the chakra in a newborn baby is self-generated or drawn from the mother's body, or if chakra is present during the formation of an embryo. There were endless peculiar questions like these. Ayin felt embarrassed by this observation task. Although there were numerous pregnant women in Konoha, providing abundant observation materials, she couldn't help but wonder why she was given such a bizarre assignment. Were all medical ninjas so strange? It wasn't only about pregnant women and childbirth, there were even more peculiar observation tasks. Ayin was asked to write documentary reports, which Shiraishi claimed would greatly contribute to his research. Ayin wondered if Shiraishi intended to switch to gynecology research. What a drastic change that would be. On the 3rd day of Ayin's hospitalization, there was a knock on the door. "Please come in." Shiraishi entered the room with a basket of fruits. Ayin-san, I've come to visit you. These fruits are a small gift from our classmates. Ayin sighed and said, there's no need to be so cautious. Nobody is watching, so you don't have to put on a facade. Well, Ayin-san, I'm not sure what you're talking about. Why can't I understand? I'm simply here to express my well wishes on behalf of my classmates. Do you want me to burn those observation reports? Please, spare me. Shiraishi feigned ignorance and took the scroll containing the observation reports from Ayin, placing it in his ninja bag. After placing the fruit next to Ayin's bed, he took out a small medicine bag from his pocket and handed it to her. What's this? This is a new medicine I developed using natural energy and other medicinal ingredients to enhance physical abilities. Remember to take one after lunch every day. This supply will last for a month, and I will provide you with the next batch on time. You should continue taking it for 11 months. Shiraishi was familiar with Ayin's body and knew that her saturation point was also 11 months, just like his own. I have my doubts about its color. The appearance doesn't matter as long as it's effective, right? Don't worry about the color. Speaking of which, is there anything noteworthy happening lately? No, as you asked, I've been leading a peaceful life with my family. Ayin recounted her experiences at home to Shiraishi. That's good to hear. I've made some hypotheses regarding the caged bird seal, but I haven't been able to confirm their accuracy. Can you gather any information about the seal? You overestimate me, Shiraishi-kun. If I were to get involved with such classified secrets, I would likely face severe consequences. The Branch family don't have access to that kind of information. Ayin replied helplessly. Shiraishi wasn't disappointed. He had expected as much, but he wanted to explore all possibilities. It seems I'll have to find a way on my own. I won't bother you any longer. Spending too much time with you here might attract attention. Ayin nodded and watched as Shiraishi left her ward. The news of Nawaki's death came unexpectedly, leaving people overwhelmed. It felt as if just yesterday he was chatting and laughing with everyone, but the next morning, news of his sudden death reached them. It was a shock. It was said that he was eager to achieve great things, but unfortunately, he didn't follow his sensei Orochimaru's instructions in that encounter. When Shiraishi heard the news, he was struck with disbelief. The image of the confident and cheerful Nawaki came to his mind. It was hard to accept that someone so young had passed away, and Shiraishi felt a sense of pity in his heart. In the face of war, even having the bloodline of the original Hokage held no significance. In places like the battlefield, everyone must be prepared to face death. It doesn't matter if they're a ninja or their bloodline. The enemy won't show mercy just because someone is the grandson of the first Hokage. Tsunade-sensei must be devastated. Although Shiraishi wished to visit Tsunade and offer comfort, it wasn't possible in Konoha at the moment. Even someone with the status of Senju died without leaving any lasting impact. As an ordinary person, what could he possibly change? Humans are creatures who seek personal benefit and avoid harm. Before ensuring their own safety, reaching out to others would only bring them more trouble. The concept of salvation belongs to the strong, while the weak can only feel sorry for themselves. When Nawaki died, Konoha wouldn't hold a funeral for him. Currently, everyone is racing against time to defeat the enemy and drive them out of the country. Life and death are no longer considerations, and there is no time to mourn for the deceased, even if he was the grandson of the first Hokage. Hashirama was a ninja, and whether he had that awareness or not didn't matter. This is the reality of a ninja war. Shiraishi was gradually understanding the ruthlessness of war. In his previous life, he lived in a relatively peaceful era, far away from the horrors of war. However, in recent years, Konoha had not experienced war firsthand, but he still deeply grasped one truth: life is not meant for happiness, and death is not meant for mourning. Being born in troubled times is the greatest misfortune.